So today we're talking about lead conversion, because if you don't convert leads, you don't have business, right? Minor detail. I read that in a book somewhere, the book of How Do You Make Sales. Capture leads, convert leads. Oh, there's Pete. There's Karina. Hello, kids. So Lurchy, let's start with you in your masterful conversion processes that have changed the lives of so many buyers and sellers over the world.
I'll be honest, it's just I'm not doing anything different other than what everybody on here has said. And the difference is really doing it and doing it well. The dollar productive actions are the things that take place. You got to get on the phone. Right before I got on here, I was 2 minutes late because I was calling through everybody who's in my searches, and my goal is to at least connect with 10 people that are in my searches, and I've got 240 of them in there a day. Just because you're sending them searches doesn't mean that they're thinking of you. So I'm just doing what we've all said to do. Pick up the dang phone and call somebody, then send a note or send a gift card for some ice cream to somewhere and get back to being relationship. We were so busy being order takers and running around like chickens without a head, we forgot the people that are important to us. Get back to that top 36 list, the top 54 list, the top 100 list. Pete and I were talking about it yesterday. Take a bunch of them to the golf outing. Have brunch, like I'm doing a brunch with Linda. I'm getting out of the way. My wife is going to have a brunch with all my clients' wives. What's better than that? Let them talk about me when I'm not there, how bad I am. No, I'm kidding. So do something that's different that not everybody else is doing. And volunteer to help other agents that are out there struggling. And I've been picking the phone up. I just saw a mistake in a multiple listing. I called the agent and told them, they're like, wow, I can't believe that you're helping me fix this thing. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, why? I said, because we all need to succeed through this business. But you know what they said? Help me sell this house. I said, great. Can I come out and do a video with you at this $2.4 million house that I don't have, that I'm going to look for a buyer? So volunteer to do things for other agents and other companies that aren't doing anything. If you don't have any listings, that you might be able to help convert and create some leads. So that's what I've been doing. It's nothing more than what we've talked about, Mitch. I'm not sure there's a lot there other than go promote some stuff, get on the phone and talk to the people. That's all. If it didn't excite anybody, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I can't believe how boring that answer was, Craig. But yeah, it's the truth, though, right? This is not rocket science, and I think sometimes this call is also, we have a lot of people on the calls every week that haven't been on calls before, so that's why we go over subjects occasionally that they're talked about, and lead conversion is a huge part. Matt, let's talk to you about your conversion process. What obviously we know pick up the phone is going to be constant for all of us, right?
Well, I think the really critical thing is you can only make so much of an impression with somebody over the phone. I mean, look, the online leads, if we're talking about converting online leads, those are the lowest, conversion rate on online leads. So you've got the whole key, you got to get in front of people. That's why, honestly, open houses work so well, is because you can actually meet people and make an impression on them and convince them to become a client of yours. What I find with online leads is, you got to get them on the phone. And then I don't care what way you get in front of them. We used to teach years ago that, you never meet somebody out at a property, because if you meet them out at the property, if they don't like that property, you lose them. Well, at least you're getting a chance to meet them, right? And make an impression on them. So the whole thing is, you really have got to, you got to pound the phones and emails and be really, really persistent. And then you got to get in front of them somehow, whether it's them coming into your office, meeting them at Starbucks, meeting them at a house. As far as I'm concerned, any way that you can get in front of people and make an impression on them. And then when you do meet them, let's say it's a buyer, because most of the leads that we get online are buyer leads. You got to look at that like a listing presentation, right? You really got to really work to make an impression on them, build rapport with them. People work with people that they like. That's really, at the end of the day, the way it works. So you've got to really make a huge effort to build rapport. I always, when I teach agents on listing presentations, I would always say, the reason whenever I would lose not get a listing, lose a listing appointment, and I used to call them back when I saw that they listed with, Craig Lurch or Brian Moses or Mitch Ribak or whoever. And I'd say, just so I can do a better job in the future, why did you decide to go with Craig, or whoever you went with? And they would have the most ridiculous reason. It was never like, oh, well, he has a guaranteed sale program, or, it was always, they couldn't really put it up, but really what it was is that they liked him, and they built rapport. The agent built rapport with them. And so they went with that agent. And, I've gone on so many listing appointments. Sometimes I think, I forget to act really excited when I see their house or when I show them a house. Right. So I don't have that, you got to fake it when you don't have it. Right. So it's the same thing with buyers. I showed a buyer that called me on a $4 million listing over the weekend, and 9 times out of 10 they're probably not going to buy the house that you show them, but it happened to be my listing. But now that's a buyer, that's a $4 million buyer, because I took a lot of time when I showed them the house to build rapport with them. And they had told me up front, we just call listing agents, and we just find it easier to go through whoever the listing agent is. But I made enough of an impression on them that by the end of the showing, they said, would you be able to help us if we wanted to buy a different house and not this one? I said, absolutely. So, when I got into the business, I was trained that, buyers are liars and you only want to have listings and so forth. But the truth is, especially when the market slows down a little bit, buyers are money. And if you can get a handful of buyers or a dozen buyers that are, approved and ready to buy, that's money in the bank, right? Especially when the market slows down. But to what Craig said, yeah, you've got to be incredibly persistent. I still have people that say, you've called me so many times, or you've reached out to me so many times. I'm so sorry I didn't get back to you, but you're so persistent. Yeah, I will work with you. So it's not rocket science, but it's just persistence. And the truth is, online leads, Mitch knows this better than anybody. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's a very, very low percentage of online leads that convert. But the ones that are going to convert, they're going to convert because you are, really aggressively following up with them.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll give you a quick stat on that. So national average conversion on pay-per-click online leads is 0.75%, less than 1%. So it's a lot of work to do. That's why I don't teach it that much anymore, because the numbers are so bad. Unless you're going to hire an inside salesperson to make phone calls for you, the agents are just not going to. And this is not a cut on it. It's just reality. You get busy, you don't make your phone calls. It's just the way it works. However, I did do it. We did with a friend of mine up in a Better Homes and Garden brokerage up in Atlanta. We did a study. It's just got to be 12 years ago, and they called 1,000 leads in their database that were over 2 years old, and of those, 38% bought a house, and 20% more were actually buying a house still. So that means 58% of those online leads are actually really good leads. The challenge is people didn't pursue them long enough to create success with them. But I think what you said, Matt, is really important too. Also, is the fact that the converting the people that call you on the listings. I've had that many times with people who've called on a listing of mine, and I'm only calling the listing agent. I've heard that 1,000 times. And here's my line, just for you guys to use, and change it for anybody else to change it. But I always say, I appreciate that. But here's the deal: that person, when they show you that house, is trying to sell you that house. They don't care about it because they know you're just going to see that house with them, and that's it. So their goal is to sell you that house. Whereas working with me as a buyer's agent, I'm going to work for you to try to find you the right house, not try to sell you a specific house. And I've converted so many people with that language because they never got that. They never understood that. They thought they were going to get a better deal, which sometimes they can, using listing agent. So, Brian Moses.
Good day, everybody. All good stuff. I think that everybody on this panel has that in common. We're persistent. We don't quit. We don't give up. We follow a schedule. There's a couple of things, though, that will add to the element of rapport. So Matt's right. People need to like you. They want to do business with people they like. But if we're honest, there's a lot of nice people in the business. there's a lot of likable people. So there's two other components of rapport, that they trust you and they respect you. So the three components of rapport, they like you, trust you, and respect you. And I have found the least important is likability. Okay, they need to like you, but they don't need to love you. And I don't try to win the client by getting them to fall in love with me. So the easiest way to book an appointment is to remember what your goal is. So when you have a lead, the goal is to get an appointment. Everybody agrees with that? So then we only want to do things that produce an appointment, which is make a good, compelling, irresistible offer. Said differently, that's not qualify the lead, that's not have commission breath, that's not ask them a million questions about when they're going to buy and if you find them a right house. The qualifying questions come after you get an appointment. So I have 4 offers for a buyer and 4 offers for a seller. And I agree with Matt that, you know, you have better influence face-to-face. But if you can master these 4 offers, you're going to get face-to-face and you don't have to run out and show the house. And you'll waste a lot less time working with people who are looky-loos. So for buyers, there isn't a buyer on the planet that isn't open to great deals. So buyers want selection. So my first offer to a buyer is, are you only interested in this house, in this neighborhood, in this town, or are you open to all the incredible, amazing deals that I can get you access to? They'll say, well, what do you got? Well, what I've got is a buyer advantage program. And if I know where you're looking, what your price range, what your style, what your amenities are, what's important to you, I can give you instant, real-time priority access to all the great deals that match your criteria. Would that be helpful? That's my first offer. If they're not ready to buy a house today, they'll probably say, well, it sounds good, but we're not ready. My second offer to the buyer is the types of homes that we have access to. So as realtors, who would agree with me that we have access to everything? We have access to bank foreclosures. We have access to corporate-owned properties. We have access to price reductions. We have access to off-market properties. We have access to probates and estates. So I'm going to sweeten my offer and say, okay, when the timing's better, if getting a good deal is important to you, our list includes bank foreclosures, corporate-owned properties, distressed sales, probates, estates, recent price reductions, etc. If getting a good deal is important to you, can you see the advantages of getting access to these types of properties? And generally, they think, I'm not seeing those types of properties because nobody's looking for the types of homes. They're looking for 4 bedrooms, 2-story, in-ground pool. They're not really paying attention to the owners or the types of properties. So I use that as added bait. I always use risk reversal. There's no obligation to buy a home or ever even look at a home. So if we can get together, we can get your criteria right, and we can do this right the first time. So that's my process with a buyer, and it works very, very well if they're really a buyer. If they're not a buyer, you know, if they're a nosy neighbor, they're not going to say yes, they're not going to meet with you. And frankly, I don't really care why they said no. But any buyer that I talk to, that offer works really, really well. Then I qualify so that we can do a great job for when we get together tomorrow. Let me ask you, how long have you been looking? What are you looking for? Do you need help with financing, or are you all set? So once I have the appointment scheduled, then I qualify. On the seller side, real quickly, the 4 offers. You know, if I could take a look at your home, I can give you a market evaluation. I think everybody pretty much does that. I don't call it a CMA, I call it a market evaluation, you know, give you an idea of what homes like yours are selling for if you were to sell. If they go, well, we're not ready yet, no problem. When the timing's better, my second offer is we can give you inexpensive tips that can yield you significantly more money for your home when you do sell it, if you ever decide to sell it. Little things that go a long way. Would that be helpful? We can also, third offer, point out things you're thinking of doing that you don't have to or shouldn't do that'll save you additional time and money. And lastly, will give you a detailed breakdown of all the associated expenses in selling a home in Indiana. There's lots of expenses over and above real estate commissions and mortgage payoffs and transfer stamps. So we'll give you a detailed breakdown so that you know what you have left for whatever your future plans may be. And risk reversal, there's no obligation to list your home or to use us. It's a free service we provide. When would be a good time to get together?
Great, simple, right?
Pretty straightforward, regardless of the source, internet lead, personal referral, open house, same offer for buyers, same offer for sellers. You know, somebody once told me if it walks like a duck, looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. If it's a buyer, it responds to those offers. If it's a seller, it responds to those offers.
Right.
So make
Right.
offers, make good, compelling, irresistible offers.
Yeah, I've tried that to 72 women and finally my wife said yes.
Persistence.
Persistent. I'm a persistent little bugger. Bobby, back from the world traveling Portugal. Looks like you had a great time over there, buddy.
Oh my God, it was the best, life-changing, best family vacation we've ever had. And so it's good to be back. I feel pumped and ready to go. I don't want to take up too much time today, but I will touch on a few things here. The first thing I think you have to do is make sure that across all your platforms, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever you're on, make sure you have a consistent message on all of them. And because people, if they don't know you, they're going to Google you. They're going to go look at your online reviews and things like that. So make sure that is on point. I think the second thing you got to make sure you do is, and Brian touched on this, is having offers. I like to call it a unique selling proposition. So, if you're working with a buyer, you've got to have things that are a little bit different. So a couple of the things that we're doing is we're really talking about how we can help with off-market properties. If they like a specific neighborhood, we're getting calling lists and calling the neighbors, try and find those listings off market. That's two sides when you can make that happen. So, so I think that's very, very important. And then the other one is the cash buyer program. We work with a bank that can turn any buyer into a cash buyer. And so you're going to save money on the purchase because you're a cash buyer and you can close in 10, 15 days. So that's a very, very important program that we've been doing really well in. And like Brian said, getting in front of them. Actually, I think it was Matt that said, in the olden days, you made people come to the office. You had to do the whole dog and pony show. People don't need to do that anymore. They can call up a Redfin agent, go show the prop or go see the property within minutes. So I think we have to kind of adjust that and get out there, meet them. But when you do meet them, be different. You can't just show up and be boring or not engage with them. Come prepared with market knowledge around that neighborhood. Be the expert, because obviously if they're looking at that neighborhood, that's where they kind of want to be. So do a little research before you go out to the property. And then when you're meeting with them, I always like to then close for the planning session at that time. So, why don't you come into the office? Let me buy you a cup of coffee, whatever it is. You can go into their house, whatever it takes to get in front of them in this tight market, you got to do that. On the seller side, you got to kind of slow play sellers these days, because we get a lot of online leads from like HomeLight and Ideal Agent. And if I call up and I'm like, hey, I hear you want to sell your house, they're like, whoa, they're not ready sometimes. And so instead, just say something like, hey, when can I come by and take a look at your house for about 15 minutes, a quick walkthrough, and then we'll supply you with a free market analysis, let you know where the market stands. We'll also put together a list of any improvements that could be made in clear distinction. We don't want you to spend a bunch of money to get your house on the market, but if you could spend $1 to get $3 back, would you want to know what those items are? And they're always going to say yes. So Be flexible, give them different times. Hey, I can come first thing in the morning, I can come in the evenings. You want me to come on a Saturday morning? No problem. Those are all things that will help you get in front of more people, which is the name of the game. Also, same with that. Be the expert in that neighborhood. If you show up and you don't really know all the comps, and you're kind of like, oh, you know, I don't really know the area. If they have that impression, then you're going to have a tough time converting that lead. And then providing regular market reports, because a lot of the leads that we get, they're 6 to 12 months out, maybe even longer. And so those people, if you're just calling them every now and then, hey, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? But you provide zero value during that process, you know, the agents that are giving that value, they're going to get that client. So I think it's really, really important to provide market reports. Brian, you know, you said that people don't, it's important to work, they like you, but they don't have to love you. I kind of disagree. You know, people, they work with people they really like, you know, and so you want to come over to any listing appointment and you want to have a good time with them, you know, be engaging. I always like to bring a little gift, you know, whether it's a branded water bottle or a coffee mug or something, just so that they kind of remember me and they have something that they will always, you know, have in front of them, even if it's a small thing. So as far as on the seller side, you know, having those unique selling propositions, you know, like we have a moving concierge program. We have a program where we can also help you fix up the entire house at no cost up front. And so those little things make a big difference. And so I think it's really important to have those different programs, because we all are selling the same thing. We're selling our service, and let's face it, it's kind of easy to sell homes these days. You just got to put it on the market. And so if you're not coming over with systems that are a little different and take the ease of or take the pain away from people, then it's harder to convert. Lastly, consistency. If someone says they're 6 months out, you should be calling them every month with some kind of item of value, whether it's a comp in the neighborhood that's sold, you know. But again, don't come at them with, are you ready? Are you ready? You know, hey, I just wanted to let you know the house down the street just sold for this. Another tip would be, if you are working a lead that is a seller lead, put them on automatic notification. So in their neighborhood, when active pendings and solds happen in their direct neighborhood, they should be getting that email. The best thing that does for you is it stops them from having to go to all those open houses in the neighborhood just to get that flyer to see, hey, what's this house selling for? And so if you're providing that value on a consistent basis, you're going to get the listing every single time. And let's see. Oh, lastly, on the seller side, make sure you have a really solid email that goes out to them. We use a system called Cato. It's Kayboh, Cato. And essentially it's a landing page. And on that landing page, it has a bunch of boxes on it. We can put videos, we can put the copy of the contract, we can do you know, just about anything you want with it. It's actually a really robust program. We were lucky enough to get on the beta for this about 1.5 years ago, and they keep on adding stuff. You know, now they have like kind of an Eventbrite type of system with it. So there's a lot of you know, great things that you can do with that. But I like to send that out before I go on any listing appointment, so that when I walk in, I'm already coming in from a position of authority. It's again just a little different than everybody else, you know, who's coming in with a bunch of stuff. I walk in with zero paperwork on every single listing, and I'm not trying to get them to sign on the dotted line right then and there. You know, we're always focused on just building the relationship, and we wait for the price for the very last thing, because we want to isolate that objection. And so I know if I don't get a listing, it's because I gave them the wrong price. And so that's you know, kind of what we do for the most part.
Awesome. Good stuff, Bobby.
Yeah,
Welcome
hey,
back.
Bobby,
We missed you.
a lot of people in the chat are asking if you would spell that again.
Kayboh. And then also I'm going to pop in here a link to a lead conversion tips. This is from Zillow, not my favorite company, but they do have some good lead follow-up systems. And so check this out. It's coming in right now.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Karina, wake up over there. Get up, get up.
Hola. Happy 4th. A little too much tequila last week in Mexico.
Yeah, the place will do it, huh?
It will.
But give us your convert. You know, you do a ton of deals. Tell us your conversion tips.
Okay, so we are, believe it or not, in the relationship business as realtors. So my first go-to is build the relationship. So it's like rapport building, but taking it up a couple extra notches. We want to be lifelong friends by the time we get off the phone. Why? Because I want them to know, like, and trust me. So rather than me bombarding them with a bunch of questions, we have a conversation. And in that conversation, I'm making sure they understand what I do for them. Instead of just bullet pointing what I do, it's in conversations and storytelling. People love stories. I've been super successful. My entire sales career of forever has been made sure that I give them stories of other people, how they won a house, what we did to beat out other agents in a multiple situation. If they're new to the area, heck, I've moved 24 times in my adult life without the military. I am a great mover and I can teach you how to move on a budget, or I can help you spend your money and move luxury. It doesn't matter. So it's all about, every person on this call has a background and has stories of their own, whether it was them buying a house or helping someone purchase a house. It's really important that you connect with people, and people love to hear how other people have succeeded, not just me, right? But my client base. So rapport building, storytelling, and in that process, I'm asking them questions. So what type of house do you want? What do you think you're looking for? What areas do you want? And at the same time, if we're on the phone, I'm literally putting them into a search in the MLS. Why? Because I want them to immediately, by the time we get off the phone, be looking at the exact houses that they have given to me in their criteria. I also personally don't like to waste my time or their time. So I ask the hard questions. Are you going to be paying cash for this house, or are you going to be financing? Just so I know which path to take you down. So we're most successful at the end. I'm always telling them, I want to make sure that we are most successful and get them to where they want to be. Nobody likes their time wasted. Nobody wants long presentations with flip books. So I have found the direct shoot from the hip approach. Even I'm Florida, but I'm really a Jersey girl in the Sunshine State. So I like to ask those direct questions. And then I ask them, okay, well, if you found the right house online, and if it was exactly what you saw in person, would you want to put an offer in? Oh, absolutely, Karina, we want to go right away. Then I recommend that you meet with my preferred lender and get a pre-approval, because I cannot put an offer in for you without the pre-approval. If they're cash, I explain to them I need a letter from their bank, or I need some kind of something from their bank showing that they have enough money to purchase. Because without those, if we wait, you could end up missing the house, whether it's an up market or a down market. I know in the down market, there was multiple offer situations on certain houses. The houses that sat forever, all of a sudden had 10 people show up at one time, 6 weeks later. Why that happens, nobody knows. But, you know, we always want to make sure everybody is ready to roll. So I have found it's very easy to get that from them. I also feel as a female, it's a safety thing. So, you know, we're going out into houses, we don't meet these people, we pull up, we're in our heels or whatever, and we're running in. And the first thing we do after we say hello to them, we put our back to them as we open the door if we haven't met them, if we didn't get there before them. Sometimes traffic doesn't allow that, right? We try to, but it doesn't always work that way. So I feel like getting a pre-approval or proof of funds is a safety thing for the girls and for the guys. The guys can also have situations in the houses there's enough crazy people. If you don't believe me, watch CSI or something. I'm sure some of those stories are real. But anyways, back to converting the leads. I speak with everybody. And then the bonus of putting people in that like MLS search or KV4 search, however you do it, is that you get an email notification when they're in there looking, but they don't know that. So I take that opportunity every single time. And when they hit, I wait 33 minutes. I put it in my phone to ding me. 33 is my magic number. And then I reach out to them like, hey, I was just thinking about you today. And that's my text. And they always reach back, that's crazy. I was just looking at this house today on your system. I pick up the phone, I call them. It makes it like we were in sync together. And people love that power of being connected with somebody, right? Especially somebody that they're going to work with. So I feel like every time you do a buyer meeting, whether it's online, in person, at the Starbucks, wherever, or a listing presentation, it's a job interview every single time. And so I've always won every job I ever went for, whether I wanted it or not. And I love to interview. So I love that rapport building, the stories, and the connection with the people. And just like Bobby and Nat and Brian, everything's very similar across the board, right? We're all rapport building. We're getting to know the client. We're bringing them something special. I personally like to slap a calendar with my face on it and my address and my phone number and my email on the refrigerator when I'm at the listing appointment. If it doesn't stick there, I leave it on the calendar, on the countertop. But it's really important to leave something behind that makes you stand out. Remember, they might lose your card. And the last thing that I really, really, really love to do is there's this company, if you're not on it, you should definitely get on it. They have a free and a paid thing. It's called Rate My Agent. And go back to all your past customers. You need to call them anyways and get them to write great reviews about you. They automatically get pushed out to your Facebook page. You can upload them over to your LinkedIn, anywhere that you are on social media. There's too many to list out. And it's a great way for your upcoming clients to see what people have said about you. And it's very easy to get these. People get these and they love to fill them out. And if you don't have the time to send them to each person, I have a full-time mom that works about 5 hours a week for me. And that's all she does is she wants to make a couple $100 a week and she sends them out for me. And then she sends me who she sent them to. And then I call my past customers that way, which then keeps me in touch with the customers, gives me my daily calls of my past customers or the ones that, you know, the girls hitting out. And I will tell you, your clients are, and I think, I can't remember who said it, but they are hitting your social media and they're looking at you, whether it's before they speak with you or after. They want to know what kind of person you are. And they're going to hit every social media site. They're going to Google you, and nothing better if you have other people writing great things. And so after I get done a call, whether it's a buyer or seller, I always send them 5 or 6 of these Rate My Agent ones. And I say, I'm all over the internet. You can look me up. I actually encourage you to stalk me. Real estate, we like stalkers. and here's what people have said about me. So you know, I'm not, you know, I'm the real deal. And that's how I always leave it with them. And it has worked out. It's very rare I don't have someone that stays with me. I guess that's it, Mitch.
It's just frozen.
Oh.
Mitch is frozen.
I didn't know if I confused you with that look that's frozen. I'm the blonde one here on the team.
He's stuck.
I'll go
That's
next,
funny.
guys. I'll
Okay,
volunteer.
Dennis, why don't you take over, buddy? Dennis, tell us what you're doing for lead conversion.
So there's good news and bad news, okay? The bad news is agents don't follow up with internet leads. The good news is agents don't follow up with internet leads. So, you know, it's and they really don't. So, you know, Mitch is frozen, but he's the pro at ISA, inside sales agents, right? That's really the only true, I personally think, unless you have somebody that's a former Navy SEAL that's hyper disciplined, to have your agents follow up correctly with internet leads, because it's a grind. And some of them, like Mitch said, take 18 months before they buy. So having an inside sales agent really is the only way if you're generating massive amounts of internet leads. Somebody like Dave Lawson generates a gazillion leads. So, you know, you kind of need those kind of systems in place. So, so that's the good news. The good news is if agents follow up with these leads, they pan out. And agents always ask me, how did I break into luxury sales in La Jolla? So the way I broke into it is with internet leads. You know, Mitch taught me this 20 years ago when I first met him, how to generate internet leads. And, you know, it starts with a high-end buyer. You target the high-end areas on your internet leads. You get a high-end buyer, you sell them a high-end home, and then eventually they'll sell that high-end home. So that's kind of just how you break into that. You know, there's no secret sauce to this. As far as scripts go, Brian Moses taught me all my scripts. He's the master at it. So, you know, there's a whole slew of different scripts that we can go into. And Brian, I think they can get all your scripts in your library through the coaching.
Yeah, I posted the link for those that aren't logged in, and a bunch of people are joining now. So that's
Perfect. So as far as script wise, I use what Brian Moses taught me years ago. So, and I still use them to this day, and my inside salesperson does. So I don't have an inside salesperson for my buyer leads anymore, but I do have them for my seller leads. And really that's the most effective way to do it. And, you know, for all those agents that have internet leads, just follow up with them. It's really hard. One of my magic weapons that I use is a company out of Carlsbad, California. It's called Zirkle. It's like purple with a Z. So Zirkle, and they're horrible at everything except one thing. It's really, really good at follow-up. So it's kind of a it's not a drip campaign per se, because those don't work. This is more of an AI kind of featured intelligence kind of campaign. So if Corinna, if you're looking at a home on 123 Ash Street yesterday on their site several times, it'll send an email saying, hey, Corinna, I noticed that you looked at 123 Ash Street a few times yesterday. Would you like me to find out if there's an open house this Saturday? Thanks, Dennis. So it sends a real targeted personal message with their intelligence they do, and no other website has really got to that yet. So they're masters at that. So if you have an abundance of online leads, you can look into that system called Zirkle, and it's made me millions of dollars in sales just from those follow-ups. Some of my highest end sales were ones that just kind of slipped through the cracks. When you have 10,000 leads, you can't call them all, right? So this system basically just kind of it pings them, and then when they respond, then you respond to them. So that's my trick that I use.
There's also
Zirkle.
Follow-up Boss does something similar to Zirkle, I think. Follow-up Boss I find works really well.
Do they? Okay. Is it the same kind of thing, Matt, where it's kind of intelligent? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I need to look into that then. Okay.
That's good stuff. I'm going to go over a few things that I had written down. There's really two parts to lead conversion. You have part one, that's getting them to answer. And there's part two of once they answer, it's converting them to a client that wants to work with you. Really big difference there, you guys. Really big. I mean, trying to get them to answer is the hardest part for us. That's why people need ISAs. That's how you need VAs, or I think someone was saying have a stay-at-home mom that does it for them. Getting them to answer or getting them to pick up the phone is really important. And it's all about speed to lead. If they pop on your website, they submit a form, they submit a request. We do 3 text messages and a call within the first 5 minutes. So we do a video text message, which is so important, you guys. Video text message. Hey, it's Cam. I saw you just dropped on the website. You were looking at property, or you put in an evaluation, whatever it may be. But I just wanted to personally introduce myself and see if you had any questions. Give me a call in a few minutes. I'm actually available right now. And it works amazing, you guys. People get that, they'll open it and they'll know who you are. And that follows up with the second point of a call right after you do the message. I give them about 15 seconds and then boom, call them on the same number and they know who you are. They're expecting the call. And our answer rates have skyrocketed since we started doing the video text messages. So as Brian says, if they are a buyer, they respond. If they're not a buyer or a seller, they kind of just, they just waste time and they don't respond. The real serious, we call them A buyers or A+ buyers, they respond to this stuff, you guys. If they were looking and they're on the website and they pop in and they want to buy a house and you reach out to them, boom, video text, boom, hey, it's Cam, just wanted to reach out to you. And then you call them, they're going to answer the phone. That's the good news, is you can get them to answer the phone. Then it's up to you to build the rapport, build the relationship, make sure they like you, right? And that's really kind of the conversation. The way that we do it is we lead with value. It's always trying to find out what they need. Whatever they need, we can help them with. It doesn't matter if they're trying to invest, if it's a vacation home they're never going to invest in, it's a beachfront home, whatever it is, we are able to help them. And we've been doing that obviously for our history, and we're able to use that. If you're a new agent, lean on your team, lean on your brokerage. You can always be the expert if you spend the time and learn about your market. So once you call them, say they're not an A+ buyer, right? They're going to be a few months out. Here back in the day, 2010 to 2020, our average time for a lead was 12 months in our CRM. So it wasn't like they were going to buy right away. Social media follow-up in the last 4 years has been absolutely paramount for us. Putting everything on social media, letting people see it. They love that. Like everyone's saying, they research you, they stalk you and all that. So if you have all of your wins, all of your victories, all of your team's victories posted on your social media, plus you get all the reviews, that is a great follow-up tool. Now, I know, Dennis, you were saying that Zirkle does different follow-up. That's really cool. We're using the same system that's now built into Chime. Chime has a great AI follow-up process. I mean, it's really good, you guys. So if you are not having a drip campaign, the drips, just generic drips just don't work. That's just the truth. But with these kind of smart drips that kind of work on what the client is doing, it gets you the opportunity that when it pops up and they're looking, it also can notify you so you can reach out and call them. Home reports, just the basic market report, very important. Newsletters, if you're doing those. Also, if you're doing podcasts, make sure you're sending that stuff out to your email list, you guys. Every week, if you're in their email, they're going to think of you as the realtor to go to. And that's the important part. If they're not buying right now, you have to become the only realtor that's on the top of their mind every week when they're thinking about real estate, right? Karina, I think you were saying one of the big lines I always use is that, will you be paying cash or will you be getting financing? That's just a super hard qualifying question. I don't think they're hard qualifying questions, you guys. These are just our business. You need to ask the important questions, and maybe being a little more firm or more direct. It's what people want. It's what people need, and they respond extremely well to it. So I love that one. Will you be paying cash or will you be getting financing? If they say they will be getting financing, obviously I need to get you connected with my choice mortgage broker. If they're not already with somebody, if they are, that's great. I'm glad that you're already working with somebody. I want you to compare to make sure that you obviously are getting the best rate. You're getting the best deal for you. And then obviously if they're paying cash, we have to have a proof of funds. Bobby was talking about unique selling propositions. Our biggest unique selling proposition down here is that we can help you purchase a property, put it into our investment program, and manage it for you. So we are kind of like the one-stop shop for investment single-family homes here in Southwest Florida. And it is just so valuable because we know everything about investing. We know about what you should be earning. We know the cost. And that's the market expert that we've become with over 15 years being an agent that you need to start building in your business, whatever it may be. Obviously, down here, we have a lot of investment properties. So I've made that more of my niche, but you can do that for your area. And that's really kind of the most important part. If they're not a right now buyer, you have to have that niche that is able to help them when they're ready in the future. For sellers, we use homebot.ai. It is a kind of a up to the month updating system that keeps them up to date with how much value is in their home and how the market generically is changing. Again, it's just a customized drip campaign, that works really well, that people really like. So homebot.ai for the seller drips, but we still put them in. I think Bobby was saying we still send them properties that are similar to theirs in their neighborhood. We still send them the market reports that come from the CRM. The more that you touch these people, the better it is, because if they're not a right now client, you have to be the right now agent when they decide to buy or sell. So those are my big things. I love that, I love everything that everybody's saying. I think Brian hit it on the head there. A buyer or seller that's a serious buyer or seller, they quack like a duck, they walk like a duck, and they buy or sell just like a duck. So it's the kind of funny when you see them. But anyways, guys, that's my my bit for today. Did Mitch get back on? Not yet?
I can go.
All right, Randy, take it off, buddy.
Yeah, I want to add a couple of things. So I believe, Karina mentioned that, she sets up the searches for clients. We like to actually do it where we actually tell the buyers we meet and what makes us unique. One of the things we actually mentioned is like, look, I know that, I don't know, you might be already, getting a bunch of emails from realtors. They probably set you up on all these auto searches, and we're like, we actually do not do that. We actually set up the search and we get it. We filter through it, because a lot of the times you might not see certain things in the photos or things that you might end up wasting your time on going to go and look at. So we'll actually go the extra mile and make a phone call to the listing agent and see, hey, does this have laundry in the unit or not? Or, whatever it is that is very specific to their wish list. And that allows me and my team to make that reach out now all the time. Like, hey, by the way, this one caught my eye. 10 properties hit my inbox, but out of the 10, this is the one that seems to be hitting everything on your wish list. So it really makes them feel like we are working for them, like, intensely, right? So I found that to be actually something that, our clients like and appreciate, because I think most agents actually just set up auto searches and they probably never even call them. So I love what you said, Karina, is like, if you do set up an auto search, make sure you get those too, and then you reach out afterwards, right? Because it's all about creating a contact and another conversation. So it's not just them getting an email from you every week and never hear from you. Like that's pointless. That doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. Because most likely what might happen, they might get in a car, go look at the property because they might see an open house and they didn't even talk to you. And then that agent at the open house swipes your client that you thought was your client, right? Because you set them up on an auto search. They're not your client yet, right? You got to build that relationship. So that's one thing we do, but I can tell you what works, like, honestly, like 90% of the time. And I mentioned this over and over, and I want to repeat this, like, and it's everyone could do this. You don't have to know many investors to do this. Is when I talk to a buyer and I say, look, one of the things that makes us unique is that we have relationships with investors, and when they rehab properties, no one knows about them, right? Unless you have a relationship with that investor. So what I'm going to do that's a little different because of our niche is I'm going to expose you to properties that you're not going to see on the MLS, right? Which is really where all agents search, right? And nothing against them. They just don't have the relationships that I do, right? So is that something that, you would be interested in, seeing off-market properties? Because sometimes we might be able to match you up with one of these and they might not even make it to market, right? I've had clients that actually ended up customizing some of their property because we got it at the right time with our investor that's rehabbing, and they got to customize a few items. Now, I can't promise that. However, it has happened, Mr. Client. So I don't know. Is that something you think, you would like to, see? Like, man, that thing is like, bam. It's like, because I know no one's going to say that. The chances of another agent repeating the same thing I just said are like 0, right? Out of maybe 2-3 agents that they might have been talking that week. So that gets them hooked, because at this point, FOMO takes over. If they go with another agent, they're always thinking like, but Randy does have those off market and it's a competitive market. And like, I would love to be able to see things that are, we see all the time on Zillow and everybody's sending us the same crap. And so anyway, and you can literally become that by just Googling who is the investor, cash, sell my house for cash in your area, and you'll get the top investors are spending money on Google ads. Call them, reach out to them and ask them like, hey, I work with a lot of buyers. I would be interested to know, is there any place on your website or anything that you have that's a hidden website that I can see your inventory that you're actually rehabbing currently, but because I would love to see if I can match some of my buyers with your clients. Would you be interested in that? And same thing with that. Investors will not say no to agents bringing buyers to them, right? So you have to ask the right questions to get the right response, right? So you're going to do the same thing on both sides, right? Get both parties interested and then play the matchmaker, but don't overpromise this to these buyers, right? That's one thing I say, like, look, the reality is, most clients end up finding their property on the MLS. However, you never know. There's that slight chance. I want to position you in the best place. So I'm always going to be checking with my off-market property investor clients. So I don't overpromise that, right? Because then it might look kind of like a bait and switch almost, right? So anyway, so that works like a charm, especially for new agents, man. I mean, for any agents, but for newbies, if you start learning that script and you just build a few solid investor relationships so you can actually genuinely say that script, right? Because don't lie, actually have these relationships, it will work like a charm. And then I'll tell you, like, open houses, we always talk about open houses. Like, one of my agents on my team, she got a luxury listing, a $5 million listing in Newport Beach. She was having a hard time getting activity and all this stuff. She did an open house. And it was in this complex, small complex. This particular unit had ocean view. So she did an open house, and guess who walks in? A neighbor that owns a unit that does not have an ocean view, okay? And he falls in love with this unit, right? Ocean view, and he doesn't have it. He knows the complex already. Next thing you know, she builds rapport, builds a relationship, and starts talking about potentially maybe, hey, my client is open to seller financing. Next thing you know, she's freaking closed. She closed this deal, guys, to a neighbor and made $237,000. And the best part is she was capped at EXP. She gave EXP $315. Like, And she listed the neighbor's house for 3 million. Right now it's on the market. Like, it blows my mind. This is from an open house, guys. Like, on the listing that she was struggling with getting activity, right? You just never know. You got to put yourself out there. And the last thing I'll finish is, my approach is very different from most of you here, because again, of my investor niche is like, I nurture my investor clients. And by nurturing, what I mean by that is I offer them, look, I actually specifically look for newer investors because I know they're really hungry and they don't have solid agent relationships yet. But I'm very honest with them. And I say, look, if you find a property, make sure you call the listing agent and see if that listing agent is willing to represent you. Once you submit the offer, send me all that information. What is your offer amount? What is your repairs? Do your own analysis. What are the comps that you use to make your buying decision? Send all of that. Let me review it for you. Just let me be your second eyes for you, right? Because you might get emotionally attached to this property and I have no connection to this. Like, to me, it's, right? I have no emotion. I'm going to look at this data and tell you my second opinion. And guess what? If I could get the listing on the back end, great, don't worry about it. But if not, also don't worry about it. Send it to me. I want to help you. I want to see you succeed, because the last thing I want to see you do is lose money on your first deal and put you out of business. So I offered that over and over and over and over and over again to newer investors. And I kid you not, like, it works because they feel like, holy cow, man, he's not just like greedy. He's not asking for business. He's here to help me, even if he doesn't get the listing on the back end. And literally, the group that I just brought in that I met like 60 or so new investors, because I know the owners of this coaching company and I helped them. I opened up 2 properties for their house tour here in San Diego like a month or 2 ago. And from those, I already have a listing because I just nurtured them and I offered to help. But guess what? This listing is on their primary home. Because there's still people. They own homes. They want to buy homes for themselves. So I'm not even listing a flip yet. I'm actually listing someone's primary home. And then I got a buyer in LA that I'm helping with my agent partner in LA because they want to buy a house for their son. Not a flip. They just want to buy a house for their son. So,
Randy Zemnich is on fire today.
Like, it doesn't, like, you guys just, if you just put it to work, there's so many angles you can take it, right? It's just pick one and stick to it. And I'm going to shut up right now.
All right, good. We're going to give Dave Lawson, the legend, the luxury legend from Park City, the last 5 minutes. Dave, bring it home. Tell us what you're doing to convert buyer leads and leads in general.
Well, when I saw this, lead conversion, I wrote down some notes and a lot of it's already been said. So I'm going to just really recap. First of all, gang, we're in a skills-based business. We're going back to basics. If everything that made us successful, we've got to go back and continue to do that. Online or any type of a buyer, there's only one goal, and it was said, I'm going to repeat it. It is get in front of them. There's a lot of people that say, try to pre-qualify and do that. Throw that all out. It doesn't work. The more people that you get in front of, the more people you win. In fact, Zillow says whoever gets in front of them has a 70% chance of actually being their agent. Remember, gang, this is a numbers game, right? We're in a contact sport. The more contacts we have, the more real estate we're going to sell.
More contracts.
Yeah. And so that's part of going back to basics. What did Craig say? Get on the phones, right? That's the very best way to make contacts with people. I always say, I love Randy, man. He was so full of energy and enthusiasm today, right? When you're meeting with people, remember that. Every time I get on the phone with somebody, I have an appointment, I have a buyer, I have a seller, I say, Randy, it's showtime, baby, right? We got to be like actors and actresses. We've got to show up with energy and enthusiasm. I can also tell you, when I teach the prospecting school, people pay, $300 to go to my prospecting school. And you know how I start it? So I walk up, they paid the money, they flew in, we're going to talk for a day or day and a half. And I say, prospecting is a colossal waste of time. Don't do it. It doesn't work. And everyone's like, whoa, what are you talking about, right? I just paid you $300 to find out it doesn't work. No. And then I say, if you don't have a good follow-up plan, prospecting isn't going to get you any business. So you've got to have a follow-up plan. Gang, all the money in real estate is in the follow-up. I just read an article from the NAR last week. It says the average agent gives up at 1.7 contacts. Has anybody ever sold a house on a new person that they've talked to less than 2 times? And the answer is yes. It happened once out of 100,000, right? So you've got to know, and they're telling 15, 20, 25 contacts or more. So we got to remember we're in the contact business. The other thing is we've got to know our objection handlers, right? We need to know how to talk to people. When people bring up something, we're on a $7 million listing appointment. They said, I know 20 people in Park City that are friends of mine. And I said, I know, I completely agree. And you know what? If you have 20 people, you're going to make one of your friends happy and you're going to piss off 19. So why don't you just tell them that you're going with the Lawson team? Because 1, we're not friends. 2, they're experts in the market. And 3, they know log homes. And they said, oh, yeah, that sounds really good, right? Well, you have to practice these and know one. When you're talking to people, there's only one goal in real estate. And it was said, you've got to get in front of people. And then the last thing I'm going to say is if you want to be able to convert a lot of buyers, you have to have a quiet sale and an off-market program. And you have to name it. So it's the Middleton quiet sale and off-market program. It's the Lawson team quiet sale and off-market program, right? It's the Dennis's quiet. You have to name it. When you name it, it has so much more power. And it also shows when somebody comes in and they want to talk to the listing agent or something like that. And I don't have time, but basically I'll just say, Dennis, so are you familiar with my quiet sale or the Lawson team quiet sale and off market? He says, no, tell me about it. Well, this is what we do for you, Dennis. We're going to research expireds, old expired, withdrawn, canceled. We're going to go to our investor clients. By the way, I added that because of Randy's help, right? We're going to check and we're going to call the agents that I know in the area that you're going to look at. We're going to look at for sale by owners. We're going to look at everything. We're going to, if it's okay with you, Dennis, we're going to leave no rock unturned to find you the perfect property for you and your family. Is that something that you'd like to do? And then Dennis says, well, but I have a friend. And I go, oh, okay. Well, then find out if he has the quiet sale program and he's willing to do all those things for you. And if he doesn't, then come back to me. But if he's a friend, go with him. But if you want to find the right house, you might want to think about coming with me, right? You think I've said that before, right? That's not the first time. I didn't just make that up. So we're out of time. I don't want to run over, but those are the things that I wrote down to share with everybody. Thank you.
I love it. Great stuff, Dave. Thanks for everybody joining us. Invite somebody next week. We're still on next week, and this was a great session. Keep in mind, as Craig Lerch said, there's 179 days left this year. And what are you going to do with those 179 days? How are you going to plan that out to succeed and to make a ton of money and have a lot of fun? So that's the big thing. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Great job.
Take care, guys.